With less than a week until Election Day, a big question remains. Is America ready to elect a female president? While recent polls have shown progress in attitudes toward women holding leadership, deep-rooted biases persist. Joining us now is Marianne Schnall. She's the author of What Will It Take to Make a Woman President? Marianne, thanks so much for coming on this morning. Let's get right to it and this loaded question. What will it take to elect a woman as president? And taking it a step further, why have we seen other advanced countries do it with more frequency as compared to the U.S.?
Well, I think, first of all, it took a whole book in order for me to answer that question. But I think what I heard from my interviews is that it may take actually conditions like we're having right now in terms of having sort of the right woman at the right time. Kamala Harris is, immensely qualified for this position. She just served as vice president. But it's also, there's been work to get here. I mean, there was a time women didn't have the right to vote, but we've now gotten more comfortable seeing women holding political office, whether it's in Congress or as Secretary of State, as Speaker of the House, or as Vice President. And then we've had the experience of, Hillary Clinton, who made all those cracks in the highest, hardest glass ceiling with her candidacies. And let's remember, she won the popular vote. So I think people are ready to elect a woman president, but also right now, I think, we're already seeing that there's this gender gap in terms of, I think it's a 15-point lead that Kamala Harris has for women voters. And I think a lot of that has to do with women being very fired up right now. I think we've been kind of fired up since the Women's March and Me Too, but now I think the Dobbs decision and the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which, is a total affront to our bodily autonomy, our ability to control our bodies and make these healthcare decisions, is something that has totally put us over the top in terms of, I think, wanting to come out and vote. And then I think just it also is a reaction to, to the point of what you just played. I mean, I think we are seeing very overt racist and sexist attacks, not just on Kamala Harris, but on all people right now. And I don't think that's where the country wants to head. So I think that's also going to be a factor. And lastly, as you mentioned, a lot of other countries have elected female heads of state. And in the U.S., it's about time. I think we want to see more representation and diversity in our leadership, which we all benefit from.
Expanding a little bit on what you just mentioned, when Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 presidential election, during her concession speech, she famously said, quote, "Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it got about 18 million cracks in it." Now here we are 8 years later, and Vice President Harris has a chance to break that ceiling. She would also become the first Black and South Asian woman elected to the presidency. A lot of variables here, but talk to us about this a moment and what Harris has faced as a candidate unlike any before her.
Well, first of all, she did not have a normal kind of runway because of how, she wound up becoming the candidate when Biden stepped down. So that's already unusual circumstances. But I think, she has really risen to this moment. I think it's been really exciting and energizing to see just, how much support and energy there's been around her. She definitely has faced, as we've seen many female candidates and particularly, diverse female candidates face, she's seen sexism and racism, but she's somehow it hasn't been as much as whereas I feel like Hillary's candidacy was more, sort of tied into her identity as a woman. She's just running, she just keeps playing out there where this is my vision and not letting it sort of distract her from what she's trying to achieve. And, again, I think that it's almost gone so far over the top with the racism and sexism that we're seeing that it's been something that hasn't been kind of as subliminal. So I think now that we're seeing it out there, I think people are rejecting that. And I think, we all would benefit. I mean, that's what I found out in my book. There's so many reasons why it would be so powerful, regardless of what party you stand for, to finally elect a woman president. I mean, it all started from a question from my 8-year-old daughter, saying, why have we had a woman president? It'd be so inspiring for young girls and, to be able to see themselves, young girls of color, but also for just all of us to see a woman as a head of state would be powerful for our country and for the world. And I do think that we're ready.
Marianne Schnall, thank you so much for your insight and the conversation. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.